Let me paint you a picture. It's the late 90s, and your family's making one of their regular trips to the nearest Walmart an hour away. Up until this point in your short life of growing up in the middle of nowhere, these trips have been the most boring thing your parents could possibly ask you to do. But on this trip, things change forever. You walk down the aisle beside your parents' cart, and then you see it. The newest, hottest, high-techiest thing a 7-year-old could possibly want. The Nintendo 64. And it's not just in the box. Oh no! It's hooked up to a TV, specifically for you to play Super Mario 64. Trips to the store would never be the same. The graphics were insane, like nothing you'd seen up to this point. The amount of freedom you had to move your old friend Mario around the castle grounds was unprecedented. The controller was so weird in your tiny hands. After that, every trip to the store became a crapshoot. Would there be other kids in line keeping you from getting a chance to play? Would you finally get a chance to try that water level you saw that other, clearly dumber kid drown in 3 times the last time you were here? Or would you have short interactions with other kids you'd never see again, but still form an eternal bond over the one thing we all wanted for Christmas that year? That was nostalgia. A longing, wistful affection for how a time or a place made you feel. It's often referred to as having a rosy recollection of an event. But if we look at that event without the rose-colored glasses, what we see is little me standing in line, waiting to play a game that was set up in a way that started the steady decline of my neck and back muscles. Seriously, it was like if you were only allowed to play video games if your TV was on top of your fridge. And then, that Christmas, I woke up to not a Nintendo 64 under the tree from Santa, but something called a PlayStation with a game called Crash Bandicoot 2? The hell is this? Was my actual reaction, and the first time I swore in front of my parents. Wow, I was an ungrateful little shit. All this to say, I didn't grow up with Super Mario 64. My friends had it, Walmart still had it, but I only got to play it in small doses. Cause what friend is gonna let you sit there and play one-player Super Mario 64 while they just drink a Capri Sun and eat a Lunchable? So this, I realize, puts me in an interesting position. I lived through Super Mario 64's heyday, and believe you me, it was one hell of a heyday. I don't have those rose-tinted glasses welded to my face like so many other people from that time. But that doesn't mean I can't still slip them on and remember what those days were like. So here's the rosy and the real, the nuanced and the nostalgic. What is it about Super Mario 64? Let's start before Christmas and before the Walmart demos. The very first piece of Mario 64 the public ever saw was at the 1993 Consumer Electronics Show. But it wasn't the gameplay, the open world environments, or even a blurry screenshot. It was, fittingly, the first thing you see when you boot up the game.
Hello!
Oh, Jesus! That's right. It was that goofy-ass Mario face that you could distort into nightmare fuel. And this was in 1993, when Star Fox was the groundbreaking 3D innovation. Mario 64 was nothing more than a twinkle in Miyamoto's eye at this point. Hell, the Nintendo 64 wouldn't even be announced until the end of 1995, but the hype for whatever the next Mario game was going to be was starting to grow. Luckily for Nintendo, they had a stacked collection of Mario material to tide over the ravenous kids and tweens wanting their fix. Yoshi's Island, Super Mario RPG, Donkey Kong Country if you count that as part of the Super Mario canon. But as soon as those 90s kids found out about the Nintendo 64 and the 3D Mario game that was coming along with it, there was Surge Soda and Pixie Stick fueled pandemonium. I remember the publicity for the console and the game being everywhere, and I knew for an absolute fact that this Mario game was going to be the greatest thing I would ever play. But that's not the whole picture. Nintendo was also in the thick of a battle for supremacy of the gaming market. Sega and their Genesis console had taken a huge chunk of the market share from Nintendo, especially in North America, and a new threat began to loom on the horizon. But this time, it was a rival of their own creation. Others have made videos in far greater detail about this debacle, but Nintendo and Sony were working together to make a Super Nintendo add-on that could read CD-ROMs. But immediately after Sony showed off their fancy little doodad at the 1991 Consumer Electronics Show, Nintendo announced that they were actually partnering with Philips to work on the exact same thing. And Sony responded by basically saying,
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go build my own
Game console.
with blackjack and hookers.
What came out of their partnership with Philips? The Philips CDI?
I wonder what's
This'll make
for
a
dinner.
great omelet.
All toasters.
Here.
Toast.
I can't wait to bomb some Dodongos.
I hope you made lots of spaghetti.
Lucky shot. Golly.
Was beyond bad, but at least we have the memes? This is also when Nintendo started to saturate the market with weird Mario games, and not just the CDI Zeldas and Hotel Mario. We got a lot of Mario-verse themed puzzle games, which I generally love. Yoshi's Cookie is good, Mario Picross will steal hours of your life, Tetris and Dr. Mario, can't go wrong there. But we also got a lot of educational games, which no one loves. I actually owned Mario is Missing, and I learned absolutely nothing about geography from that game. And Mario's Time Machine? Oof. I rented that one once and literally couldn't figure out what I was supposed to be doing. Why does the Time Machine double as a surfboard? Then there's Mario's early years. Fun with letters, fun with numbers, and preschool fun. And despite what the titles might say, they are not fun. If you have to put fun in the title, it's most likely not fun. Nope, not touching that one. Nope. But while these games were bad, there was one true commercial failure that hit Nintendo at this time. The Virtual Boy. And there are no rose-colored glasses to save these rose-colored glasses. This thing was just hard on the eyes. Like literally. And the 3D it promised was very, very mid at best. It failed to sell more than 80,000 consoles and was discontinued after only 1 year. These weird parts of Nintendo's history rarely get talked about altogether, and the timing of them also never seems to come up. But in reality, Nintendo really needed a win with the 64. So Nintendo did what they always do when they need a win, chucked Miyamoto at it. He and the gang started work on Super Mario 64 in September of 1994, and 20 months later, we got what many consider to be one of the most influential video games of all time.
Let's go.
The plot, however, was nothing groundbreaking. Mario receives a letter from Princess Peach inviting him over for cake, if you know what I mean. But when he arrives at the castle, he discovers Bowser has invaded the castle and, you'll never believe this, kidnapped the princess. But this time, Bowser uses the castle's power stars to seal himself and the princess away from Mario and his pesky can-do attitude. The power stars are hidden in the castle's paintings, where Bowser's minions do a pretty terrible job of guarding them. So it's up to Mario to gather the power stars, beat the snot out of Bowser, and save the princess. Again. But as always with Mario, the plot is secondary to the gameplay. But with Mario 64, the graphics take center stage. And if you look at it through the lens of someone playing Super Mario World or even Yoshi's Island, and then being shown Super Mario 64, this was massive. And I think it's worth noting what 3D graphics on home consoles up to this point looked like. You've got your Doom, or Jumping Flash. Virtua Fighter might be the most impressive 3D game on this list, or maybe Panzer Dragoon. Mario 64, it just looked so much cleaner than the rest. Everything was crisp and snappy. Truly, every polygon was placed with such purpose and care. A lot of other early 3D games put way more detail into their model designs, but often it looked muddy, hard to understand, or just plain horrifying. But in Mario 64, you can tell exactly what all character models are at all times. I wouldn't call the look of this game timeless by any means, because nothing from the days of early 3D has aged well. But this game was unlike anything else at the time, and that Nintendo charm just oozes out of it like a oozy, super happy boil. And a big part of that was something Mario had that none of these other games had. Now, there may have been earlier games that did this. It is truly amazing how little information there is on this topic. But Super Mario 64 is remembered as the game that gave us the controllable camera. Gone were the days of the first-person 3D game. The third-person perspective shall rule supreme in early 3D. They even got real cute with it, introducing this new concept through the lens of an actual camera. The Lakitu Bros are broadcasting Mario's pursuit of the Power Stars live for someone to watch. Maybe Luigi. He wasn't invited to this one. But as cameramen, they do their best to get the best angle at any given time. So as you wander around, they're going to try to show you everything you need to see. But if their shot isn't to your liking, you, the player, can take charge. You can zoom in, zoom out, go into first-person mode. This is a truly robust camera system, which just adds to the magnificent scope of this new style of level design. It's amazing how Nintendo perfected camera controls in their very first try, and damn it, I'm wearing the glasses again, aren't I? The camera controls kinda suck. It's so fitting that one of Bowser's minions is running the camera in this game, because it's the enemy you're gonna be fighting the most. Just seeing where you're trying to go can and will be the death of you. It's wild to look back on how far camera controls have come since 1996. Nowadays, we usually have an analog stick under our right thumb to move the camera around. But back then, all we had was a D-pad called the C buttons, which I just now realize stands for camera buttons. There we go. But because they're buttons and not a stick, you click the C button and it cranks the camera to the left or the right X number of degrees per click. If you're lucky, the Lackey Bros know what you're wanting to see. But that definitely isn't always the case. You're gonna get stuck in tick-tock clock trying to make one of the most butt-puckering jumps you've ever made in a Mario game. But enough about my personal vendetta against the camera. The camera works well enough for most levels and challenges, and all the new tricks they added to Mario's move pool makes these challenges a brand new experience. The double jump, the triple jump, the long jump, the wall jump. He stole the ground pound from Yoshi. And for a second, I thought this was the first game Mario ever punched someone in, but that title actually goes to Super Mario RPG, I believe. And if you can think of a time that this brawler from Brooklyn threw a punch earlier, let me know in the comments. Gotta pinpoint where that violence began. Mario can do so many cool things in this game, and when you get good, the world becomes your playground. Parkour! Past power-ups have been replaced with these different caps Mario can unlock. The wing cap lets Mario fly, the metal cap protects Mario from stage hazards and lets him walk underwater, which is way more useful than you'd think, and the vanish cap turns Mario invisible, allowing him to walk through certain walls. For some reason. All the caps last for a limited amount of time, which is a pretty great solution for power-ups in a 3D environment, as many of Mario's old power-ups, like the cape from Super Mario World for example, would entirely break the game. And you wouldn't want to cape swoop over everything in this game, because one thing that remains great, with or without nostalgia, is the level theming. 15 stages that hit all those classic platforming games tropes perfectly and beyond. Bob-omb Battlefield is your standard green plainsy level, but it's got something, that secret sauce that makes it so memorable and cozy. It feels so good to just roam around, which is kind of ironic as it's a literal battlefield. Jolly Roger Bay set the standard for what 3D water levels should be like going forward. And while not great, the underwater mechanics in this game are more than serviceable. I could go on forever about every level, but in short, you got your snow levels, a fire level, a desert level, a cave level, a mountain level, and a spooky level. But outside of those, that's where it gets weird. Wet Dry World is based around a lost city where you control the water levels. Depending on the water level, you can access different areas, find secrets, and curse loudly because you just can't reach that cannon at the top. Seriously, someone during a live stream had to point out that the water level is based on how high you jump into the painting. 1, that's brilliant. And 2, how was I supposed to figure that out? Tiny Huge Island expands on Super Mario Bros. 3's Giant Land by not just letting the Goombas be massive, it lets Mario go full Attack on Titan on them. Going inside the clock in Tick-Tock Clock is such a cool idea. Just look at all the weird moving parts making this thing work. And controlling the clock's speed by where the minute hand lands on the face of the clock is also cool and inventive. But me thinking that the hour and the minute hand needed to be at 12 to stop the clock? Well, that was just a big waste of time. But this place has some of the most precise platforming Mario has had to do in his career up to this point. And sometimes it's not the most clear. No, Mario, no! No, Mario, No, Mario, no! No! Everything is terrible! But there is another that takes Peach's cake as the hardest and the trippiest level. And the music still haunts my nightmares. Rainbow Ride is the most out there Mario idea I've seen since the entirety of Super Mario 2's plot. Magic carpets flying on rainbow paths, floating platforms, and a house in the sky, and just the weirdest assortment of obstacles Nintendo could think of. It simultaneously feels like a complete idea and like a tech demo all at the same time. This is such a beautiful collection of worlds to adventure in. Getting lost in Hazy Maze Cave, finding your way into the pyramid in Shifting Sandland, having the shit scared out of you by that friggin' piano in Big Boo's Haunt. There's just so much to experience in every single level. Some of my fondest memories of playing this game back in the day are just wandering around and exploring for new ways to beat the level. To beat the level. To beat the level. Beat the level. Beat the level. Beat the level. My God. You actually have to do stuff in the levels. They may be 15 beautiful levels, but they are only 15 levels. A Mario game with only 15 levels would turn the jump to 3D into a stumble straight into a fire pit. That's literally only 3 more levels than Super Mario Land had on the Game Boy. Sure, they were much larger, but that wouldn't make a great first impression for the Nintendo 64. But this was the space limitation of the 64's cartridge system at work. And Sony's over here laughing in 4-disc RPGs. So how do you get enough game time out of these sort of limitations? You make kids do the same level again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. Each level has 8 different power stars to obtain by accomplishing various tasks. Sometimes you're fighting one of Bowser's big baddies. Sometimes you're looking for a secret. And every time you're trying to collect 100 coins. Originally, I wanted this video to be a ranking list of the least to most fun power stars to get. But then when I started trying to make that list, I just got really frustrated. Thinking about getting shoved off the course by the big penguin race, or flying to get the red coins in Shifting Sandland and falling into the quicksand, or just finding Big Boo's balcony and then falling off and having to get up there again. Ugh. The stars that stick in your head are never the fun ones, I guess. And the life system in this game is just frustrating. Every time you die, you get thrown out of the level's painting, and you gotta hop back in and try again. But you still have lives for some reason. And if you run out of lives and get a game over, you're sent back outside of the castle, and you gotta make the walk of shame back to where you just were.
Morning.
But what grates me the most nowadays, worse than the game overs or the unnecessary life system, is getting a star, being thrown out of the painting, and having to jump back in for the next one. Wasn't that the same punishment for dying? I guess we didn't know any better back in 1996, and there was probably no way around the need for this programming-wise, but now with the advent that was Mario Odyssey, do these methods feel antiquated. These sort of game design choices showcase just how much game design has changed since the 90s. Launch titles especially were treated like they might be the only game a kid has to play on their console, so all the filler, content, and challenge were a way of giving you more bang for your buck. Nowadays, game design rarely revolves around a life system, and you restart frustratingly difficult parts pretty darn close to the frustratingly difficult parts. It feels like your time is so much more respected than it used to be. But not all these star challenges are a painful test of fortitude. Some feel really great to solve. I love racing Koopa the Quick across Bob-omb Battlefield and Tiny Huge Island. Fighting the various boss fights feels like a very climactic ending to the level, but it is odd that they're usually the first star you can get in the level. And solving the ice maze in Snowman Land makes you feel pretty darn clever. Well, at least I feel clever. I know it's a kid's game, just let me have this one, please. There's also secrets all over the castle hiding power stars to find. Some of them are literally just talking to the toads, but others are, actually fun, like the rug burn inducing slide or learning to fly. These secrets led to a lot of 90s kids assuming there had to be way more secrets everywhere. So we'd spend hours just rubbing Mario on the walls looking for a nook or a cranny that was absolutely not there. But the stars aren't just pretty shinies, they're your progression MacGuffin. Once you've got your first 8 stars, you can open the first big door and face off with Bowser. And I really love the Bowser levels in this game. They take all the tricks you've learned in the regular levels and put them to the test, all while a Koji Kondo banger underscores it. And while we're at it, Koji Kondo slays this entire soundtrack. It is so freaking good. Unlike my Bowser chucking skills, this is not very intuitive. But at least you get to practice again during a round 2 fight with him after you've got 30 stars. And then, after much trial and error, the final door to Bowser opens after 70 stars. And this fight, he's not messing around. He is legitimately PO'd and is spewing fire and running tackling drills on your face about it. And you have to chuck Bowser 3 times compared to the 1 chuck on the last 2 fights. This is by far the most intense Bowser fight yet in any Mario game up to this point. But with Bowser defeated, you've freed the princess, and Mario finally gets him some of that cake. If you know what I mean. But wait, there's more. There's still 50 more stars to get if you want to complete this game. And I'm gonna be real with you all. In 2023, completing this game just doesn't hold up anymore. Like, between 70 and 120, there is nothing new to unlock. No new levels, no new Mario power-ups, it's just 50 more stars, which are most likely the frustrating ones you haven't figured out how to get yet. Some of it gets really tedious, especially hunting down 100 coins in every level, cause some levels barely squeak over the 100 mark. It's always the water levels being troublemakers, what's up with that? But say you do it all. What do you get? A cannon opens up outside of Peach's castle that lets you launch yourself onto the roof, which is cool. Like, don't lie, if you were playing this as a kid, you were 100% trying to figure out how to get up there. And everyone's favorite disposable mount, Yoshi, is waiting for you. But you don't get to ride Yoshi. Oh no, he gives you 99 lives, a triple jump that makes you invulnerable, and is on his merry way. 99 lives for a game you already beat. As a wise sage once said,
Ain't nobody got time for that.
unless you're looking for bragging rights, I really don't recommend completing Mario 64. But despite all my griping, I still feel like it's a must-play. It's a monumental piece of gaming history that for every bad idea, there are 2 more great ideas. It revolutionized 3D gaming in ways that very few other games can claim. But revolutionizing definitely does not mean perfecting. The clunky camera controls were better than any camera controls before it, but we are leaps and bounds past that point today. That and how it handles missions are where this game shows its age the most. But when you get right down to it, it's still Mario. Mario's mainline games will always be able to conjure up a nostalgia storm for me, and I presume nearly anyone else who's ever played them. The whimsical, lighthearted nature of the Mushroom Kingdom is close to timeless. Even when it does spooky and dark, it gives off the warm fuzzies. And if you got to experience those feelings as a kid, cherish them. And if you didn't, I think we can all at least respect what this nearly 2-decade-old game has done for gaming as a whole, and show it some well-earned love. And I think that's what it is about Mario 64. It's got something to love no matter what angle you come at it from. Happy childhood memories, technological breakthroughs, how it shaped game design today, or even someone new to gaming today cracking up as Mario runs around with his ass on fire. It's got staying power for everyone. It's easy to play, hard to master, and in the same vein, easy to love and hard to explain. But for me, I'm going to keep one eye on nostalgia and one eye on today, and just enjoy giving this game a play, but not to completion. Not again. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and any of the other YouTube stuff you feel like doing, and also consider checking out the Patreon page. It's got exclusive Binkle Monkey swag, and these lovely folks here got to pick one of the next games I'm covering. So come join the Plaid Squad over at patreon.com/BinkleMonkey. Thanks again, and have a good one.